Hey YouTube, this is The Art of Prepping. Thanks for joining me on Survival Tips Tuesday. We're talking about poncho tarps and all the things you can do with it. For the first thing you can obviously do is to use it as what it's intended to do, to be a rain and wind cover, a barrier, a type of cover that will just protect you, like an outer layer, an outer shell, to keep you dry and away from the wind chill factor. The next thing is when you need to take salt water, for example, and desalinate it. You actually just boil that salt water and use this poncho tarp and hang it above at the right height to capture just enough steam so that it'll actually condensate on the tarp and it'll drip down into a container, so you can have fresh water. The next thing, you could use it as a small boat sail. You could do a crisscross method with sticks or small limbs, lash it together and mount it in the center of a small boat. If you had the wind to help you move about. You could also use it as a tarp shelter, another cover device. So if you didn't have an actual tent, you could definitely use this as a tarp shelter. A lot of these that we're talking about obviously would have the grommets or some kind of lashing points. You don't want the cheap ones on this one. This is actually made to be an actual tarp shelter and a poncho by design. The next thing could be a ground cloth to keep you off the ground, off of cold, off of damp. Also keep gear off of the ground so that it can stay also clean and dry. In terms of other things you can use this for is a rain catchment device. So you can just put a rock in the middle at the lowest point there, and the water will pool, and there you go. You also have the option, if it's a brightly colored or a high contrasting type of, especially to the surroundings of the environment, colored poncho tarp, it could be a signal panel. You could also use this if you do the crisscross method again, reinforce it and make a large fan out of it to fan and do signal fires, and you could actually control the output of the signal smoke. And so you can fan it at different points to create things like SOS and other types of signals for distress if you're looking for a rescue type of a signaling device. The next thing would be a ground tarp over the gear. So let's just say that there's good drainage in your area, but you're not worried about drainage, you're just worried about the heavy torrential rain. You could just use it like a regular tarp. Maybe you have things like this. You have like old firewood or dry wood, and you want to keep it dry. You can just cover it up with your poncho tarp. The next thing could be as a makeshift gear bag, just to cover your, not only to carry your gear really, if your bag broke or something, but it could be a foraging bag. It could be also a bag that could to be used if you find things along your way, and a scavenging type of container. You could also use this as a water storage container. And if this particular poncho tarp is camouflage, you can also use it as a camouflage cover. So you can blend in, especially if you're trying to, escape or not be seen. And you could use the natural vegetation in the area to use it with the camouflage or the earth tones of this particular tarp. You could also make a decoy that'll make it look like from a distance that you're actually in your poncho, and from a distance someone might circle the camp and giving you time to get away further if there was threats coming your way. So definitely decoy. Also, you can create booby traps, which you could dig out pits and other types of snares and traps that could be used for humans or animals, and put the actual poncho tarp over the large holes, scatter debris and dirt over it. They wouldn't weigh that much, and so someone could walk right into it, or an animal could, if you had to, for various survival situations. And one of the last ones here I'm going to say is going to be for repair. You could cut up this poncho tarp into different panels or strips or whatever it is for repair, or even for first aid. Heck, you could even make tourniquets out of these. So these are just some ideas for the new prepper that it's just kind of getting used to thinking outside the box. So just because you get a tarp Just because you get a poncho, maybe get a poncho tarp, like we're talking about. Poncho tarps are very multi-use, and we're just scratching the surface of the things you can use it for. And so, as always, I hope that you continue to get into prepping and look at all the different things that you can use one item for, because there's so many uses for everything pretty much. We think of things as a multi-use item, mainly as just like tools like multi-tools, and just various types of things that are very common. But sometimes the more common things like tarps and ponchos or poncho tarps are right there in front of us, and they have the same capability as a lot of other individual things. And so sometimes we don't need a lot of individual things. We just need maybe one or two things, and it's just how we use it that we get the benefits from it. So as always, you guys take care. I'll catch you later.